just address it to me.
Yeah, it was really nice. Thank you very much. It's interesting, like futuristic underwater aquarium, I guess. I don't know. It was just
Mayor?
This time we'll call to order the April 28, 2025 meeting of the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency. Before we move into our agenda, I'd just like to ask us all here to pause for a moment of silence to think about and pray in our own way about the victims that were injured in last night's boat accident in Clearwater Beach. Thank you. As a community, we continue to pray for the families of those who suffered injuries in the accident. That will move to item 2.1 on the agenda.
Approve the minutes of the March 31, 2025 CRA meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We'll move to item 3 on the agenda. At this time, are there any citizens to be heard regarding items that are not on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to item 4.1.
Present April Business Spotlight to Chiang Mai and Thai and Sushi Bar.
I think there was a gentleman that was trying to pull a citizen's comment card. I'm not sure if he was able to or not. Okay. Well, Jesus Nino, Executive Director, for the record. This item here is going to be presented by Ms. Tasha Hadley.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Tasha Hatley, CRA Specialist. And I'm proud to introduce April's Business Spotlight, Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi, owned by Sony and Nola Levon. Located at 415 Cleveland Street, Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi has been a downtown staple since 2008, making it one of the longest-standing businesses on the district. What began as a family venture soon turned into a well-loved destination that serves Thai and authentic Lao cuisine. Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi is more than just a place to eat. It's a reflection of family, culture, and community. The business has supported local schools, participated in community events, and continued to collaborate with other small businesses to help the downtown Clearwater core. Their menu is full of rich, flavorful dishes like pad mi mao, royal duck curry, and the appetizer sample. And my personal favorite, their fresh squeezed sugarcane juice, which is made fresh to order, and it's really good. So you gotta come by and check it out. To help share their story, the CRA and Public Communications produced a promotional video. This video has been shared across all CRA channels and media platforms, and a full article is available on myclearwatercra.com. This business spotlight is part of our continued efforts under the CRA and Downtown Development Board initiative to support local businesses, enhance economic development, and foster community connection in downtown Clearwater. At this time, I would like to invite the trustees to view the video.
Hi, my name is Sonny Luvan. I'm the owner of Chiang Mai Lao Thai and Sushi Bar right here in downtown Clearwater. We started in 2008, making this 17 years in operation. Honestly, a restaurant never was on our family's radar, but looking back, it seemed like the most natural outcome for us. We ended up right back here in downtown Clearwater in our backyard, and this is where it all began for us. We thought that tourism would be our main focus. And while that has been true for a lot of the time, what we actually found was that you still have your locals, your foundation around your own zip code that you're working in. Lao and Thai food are really fantastic in balancing a lot of aromatics and textures and freshness. And what we really are looking forward to is our Lao Kapun noodle bar. It's one of those things where you have a giant cauldron of this dish just brewing on your stove for the entire neighborhood to enjoy.
For somebody who never tried Thai food before, I recommend come with friends or family and order as the family style. Everything on the table and everyone enjoyed it, a little bit of everything.
And then you can fight about the bill.
Thank you. I would like to present Sony to say a few words.
Thank you, Todd.
Just close this. If I can find the mouse, I'll close it.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and Sabadi Tutukun, which simply means Happy New Year, everyone, in recognition of the Thai and Lao New Year, which occurred earlier this month. And what an opportune time to kick off my new year with a thank you to the council members here for awarding Chiang Mai this business spotlight opportunity. As amazing as the video was, though, I find it curious why they put the head dishwasher as the one to speak on behalf of the business, but I did my very best. Well, my name is Sony Luvan, and between polishing chopsticks, my wife Manola and I own and operate Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi Bar across the street there. And we'd like to start by extending our thanks and gratitude to some people who have made this possible. First and foremost, to start with, is Tasha Hadley and Matt Gresh with the news and media side for their support in brainstorming this entire process for us and helping us put our best foot forward. Then there's going to be Julia Baltez as Community Redevelopment Specialist, who in this project, for the first time for us, really held our hand and guided us through all the processes and checking all the boxes and dotting the lowercase j's and everything else. And of course, last but not least, Ms. Vicki Shire of the CRA Programs Manager side. Clearwater local, born and raised, who since day one has been a friend and absolute proponent to the downtown businesses that work alongside me. She's always encouraged a lot of the efforts in developing new opportunities for us to try and do our best to thrive and succeed in otherwise challenging times. We appreciate Vicki and the CRA's efforts to positively impact our district as she's been doing. And now to the main question, how has the spotlight helped? Basically down to a couple of examples of local tourism first. The comments are, wow, when they talking about the video, when I asked them, I never thought that these dishes were available here. I thought they were only in your St. Pete night markets or at Pinellas Park. Well, I said, why not Clearwater? So here we are. Thank you for coming. Then, of course, the almighty tourism dollar as well, the out-of-state comments. Okay, our family's trip to Clearwater Beach was a 10. Then we came here after seeing the video and it's 12. So thank you very much. And we thank them as well, and we thank you for your support in this. And lastly, while it can be difficult to attribute success to any one specific factor, but at the time since that spotlight aired, we've enjoyed 2 separate back-to-back record-breaking weekend sales in our business, not just for the quarter, not just for this time last year, but the entirety of our 17 years in existence in downtown. And it could be mom's recipes, you know, it could be my dishwashing, or it could be the spotlight itself. But in actuality, we maintain it's simply what we do as a business. With the support and partnership of the city council like this and the amazing staff I mentioned before, that is what's truly enabled us to succeed in the way that we do. And so for that, we thank you. And before I go, I'll leave you with one final example of a proper partnership. Since my wife isn't here right now, you saw her at the end of the video. She was the one subtitled at the end. But basically, in our little civil war of trying to decipher who's going to be the one pushed in front of the camera, we know the result. But I thought I had her on the ropes until she looked at me and said, Sony, if I'm on screen, they're going to need to put in subtitles. I don't know how much subtitles cost, but I'm sure they cost a lot of money or time. So save the city some money, cut your hair, sit up straight, and get in front of the camera. So there it is. Thank you very much.
So we have a certificate to present to you, and I just want to read it to the community. The Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency awards Chiang Mai Thai and Sushi Bar as the April 2025 Business Spotlight Program winner This business has been recognized for its exceptional impact in downtown Clearwater and its dedication to enhancing the vibrancy and spirit of the local community. I'm one of many who have enjoyed your food over the years, and I must say that whoever did the video made it look as spectacular as it tastes. They did a really nice job in portraying the food you offer and serve, and thank you for your years of service and commitment to the city and helping downtown Clearwater be vibrant, and your continued commitment to offering great service and food to our citizens.
And thank you for playing a major role in that as well, everyone.
Yeah, Vice Mayor? Excuse me, now I guess you're council member.
Yeah, I'm just a council member now. But Sonny, I just wanted to tell you, I've been, as a council member, I've got to be, I've got to show all the restaurants equal opportunity. But I can tell you, I just, since you're winning this award, I got to tell you, you've been my favorite since you've opened. And, your pad thai is excellent. And that's what I would have most of the time when I went in there, and my family would, until I found out you did sushi. And the Dynamite now is my favorite sushi, and we, every time we have family in, we always go down there. And I'm so happy to see how successful you are, because I know it was hard in the beginning with, competing and getting people in. And, now I know if I'm going to go to Chiang Mai, I better go an hour ahead of time, before, if I have an event or something. So congratulations.
And thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Okay. Vice Mayor?
I wanted to take a moment and thank you from a different perspective. As someone who owned a business before and was involved in the Merchants Association, your presence was always like the backbone of our organization. And, businesses came and went, and you just weathered through all the storms, and you were always reliable, and you are a valued team member of the Merchants Association. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right. Well, thank you, and congratulations again.
Congratulations. Yeah.
This time we'll move to item 4.2 on the agenda.
Approve recommended changes to the North Greenwood Residential Grant Program and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Hi. That's pretty tough to beat. Good afternoon, Julia Baltus, CRA Specialist. The item I have before you is a request for approval for the proposed changes to the North Greenwood Residential Exterior Improvement Grant Program. This program was originally approved on July 15, 2024, to assist in the rehabilitation of single-family homes within the North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area. The program provides financial assistance to eligible homestead property owners for exterior repairs and improvements, enhancing the visual character and livability of the neighborhood. When the program was first presented, it was intended to be a living document. And after 6 months of operation and during a biannual evaluation, staff has identified areas of improvement. At the April 7, 2025 North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, staff presented the proposed revisions to the program. After a final review of the grant program policy, staff has revised one additional sentence on page 2, second to last paragraph. The sentence currently reads, "In the event the waiver is granted, then the applicant contribution match will be set to 0%. The suggested change will read, the amount of the reduction or waiver can be added back to the total grant amount not to exceed $20,000. And additional language has been added throughout to clarify the value of waived community service hours can be added back to the total grant amount. If approved, the updated program guidelines will be implemented immediately. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, is there any trustees' discussion? Councilmember Menino?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to make a comment. I thank staff for their flexibility in making the adjustment to the service hours required. I think that was a big one we ran into early in the process and noticed a couple applications of elderly individuals that didn't meet that capital threshold to give, but also didn't have the ability to complete a service requirement. So I commend you on finding the flexibility to make those decisions. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 4.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Agenda item 4.3.
Approve recommended changes to the North Greenwood Commercial Grant Program and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good afternoon, Vicki Shire, CRA Division Manager. This item before you is to request approval of the recommended updates to the North Greenwood Commercial Grant Program to create a smoother, more effective process for all applicants. On April 7th, these recommended changes were presented to the North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee. The following are staff recommended changes. Community service credit. We'd like to add language clarifying that if community service hours are waived, the corresponding value may be added back to the total grant amount not to exceed $75,000. We'd like to remove the requirement that certain TED improvements must be approved by the police department. Any improvement staff will run through the police department with those changes. We'd like to remove the language improvements covered under the city's facade improvement program. We'd like to remove this to allow applicants greater flexibility in accessing funding for a broader range of projects, including reducing barriers and streamlining support for property enhancements. We'd like to add language stating that the CRA director will have authority to approve or deny grant applicants up to $75,000. This is to align with the downtown commercial grant program. And then we'd like to add language allowing funds from this grant program to be used as owner equity towards satisfying owner funding requirements for other city-managed financial assistance program. This also, of course, will allow to increase applicants' leverage for funding and additional resources and prevent some barriers for them. And then we just updated the project detail budget form. And then at this time, do you guys have any questions?
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.3? Hearing seeing none, is there any trustees' discussion? Not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 4.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 4.4.
Approve the 2024 annual financial statement.
Jesus Nino, Executive Director for the record. I want to introduce you to Ms. Monica Mitchell. She's the Assistant Director for the Finance Department.
Good afternoon, Monica Mitchell, Assistant Finance Director. This is for the presentation of the CRA's audit. This is the 5th year we have provided audited financial statements just for the CRA in response to a 2019 statute. What's different about this, as opposed to the audit that you'll hear about in the next meeting, is it only includes the CRA funds. They're also included in the city's audit, but this focuses exclusively on the CRA funds, and it contains a lot more background information than you would find on the CRA in the city's audit. What's different about this year's audit is we now have the North Greenwood CRA included here. So with that, I'll introduce you to John Breelmeyer, partner with Carr, Riggs & Ingram.
1 second.
There it is.
Thank you. I'll figure out how to start it in just a second. So let's start from the beginning. All right, there we go. A little slow. Hi, my name is John Bromeyer from Carr, Riggs & Ingram. We're here to present the audit results for the September 30, 2024 financial statement audit. There's a lot of time that goes into this. It's part of the city's audit, but I'd like to thank the finance department and your executive team. They're helpful in responding to our questions. We perform a lot of procedures, analytics, pulling supporting documents. They respond to our questions and our requests for support quickly, timely, and every request that we give gives a clear explanation to it, so we really appreciate their help. As part of the audit, we issue several reports, the first one being the independent auditor's report. We issued an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance any auditor can provide.
Next one is the government auditing standards report. If there was any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or other items to note, it would be described in that report. The next one is the management letter. That's prescribed by the State of Florida Auditor General. It comes in a prescribed format. There's no findings, nothing to communicate in that document. The last two is the local investment policies report that states that you follow the Florida statutes over investment policies. If you follow the statute, you actually commingle the funds with the city. They allocate interest and income to the CRA. And then the last one is the compliance with redevelopment trust fund. Again, no issues with that. Some other communications. There's no significant accounting policy changes in the current year. Any policies are listed in note 1 of the financial statements. Your statements are used, or estimates are used to produce your financial statements. Those include the allowance for doubtful accounts, fair value of investments, and the estimated useful life of capital assets. There's no significant difficulties in dealing with management. They were actually great to work with. No disagreements with management. No other findings to note. Corrected or uncorrected in the statements, we didn't have any. And then issues discussed prior to our retention, we're not aware of any. Any questions for me? Pretty clean report.
That's good. Any questions from the trustees or discussion? Okay, no? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to
So
approve?
we have to approve this financial statement, yeah. So is there anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 4.4? Okay, so hearing none, is there a motion to approve the report?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 4.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 4.5.
Discuss or schedule an executive session for active litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is my item. So this has been brought before the CRA trustees involving the Frank Crum litigation. As the trustees are aware, both the city and the CRA were sued in that matter. However, the city has already been successfully dismissed from that case, leaving the CRA as the only defendant, which is why we're discussing it in this context. I've scheduled this to arrange an executive session for the trustees to discuss it with myself, along with the city manager and our outside counsel from CRA Robinson. Florida law does allow us to meet in private to discuss active litigation, and so that will be the plan. We're doing this because there have been different feedback from individual trustees that the manager and I have received, and that's okay. That's why we can have these conversations in the shade. So I am required under Florida law to announce at a public meeting that I am seeking guidance from the client as to active litigations. That's why we're discussing it in this context. The meeting is being scheduled for 4 p.m. on May 21st. Staff is working with each of you to ensure that meets everyone's calendar. We're still figuring out whether it will occur at 600 Cleveland Street or whether it's here in the main library. The statute says that when we're talking about active litigation, we have to open a public meeting just to announce that we are going to go into the shade meeting. It's a very cumbersome process. We could do that at 600 Cleveland Street, but it's also a little bit cumbersome too. So we'll figure out whether that's going to be at 600 Cleveland or whether it'll be here. Either way, the actual shade meeting itself will take place either upstairs in the boardroom, in the second floor here in the library, or it will take place in the main conference room at 600 Cleveland Street, one of the two. Based on, again, some nuance with active litigation that makes it a little bit different than, say, our labor negotiations or labor discussions, there are limits on who can attend these meetings. The only people who are allowed to attend litigation meetings are the elected trustees, myself, and any lawyers representing us, which will be Gray Robinson in this matter, as well as our chief executive. No one else from the city is allowed to attend. No one else from the CRA is allowed to attend the meeting, so it will be a limited crew. So that's probably all I'm going to say at this time, unless the trustees have questions.
Questions? Thank you. Okay, that moved to agenda item 4.6.
Downtown revitalization.
This particular item is dedicated specifically for the trustees to discuss any matters that you may want to discuss for the downtown. Otherwise, I have and my director's report updates.
Any questions, comments from the director? No? Okay. Move to your director's report.
In the downtown, it's exciting times. You know, a lot is happening in the downtown. The momentum is there, and it's continuing to just get more and more exciting every single day. You know, we have Chiang Mai here. I think they're gone now. But so many things are happening. Right now, we're starting to do a lot of communication with the downtown stakeholders. That's the business owners, even people that reside in the downtown as far as the upcoming construction. You know, Joelle, she's putting together a communication strategy so we can make sure we do that appropriately. You know, we have the Bluffs, we have Osceola Corridor, we have just so much happening in the downtown as far as that construction that's coming down the pipe. City Hall is under construction. PSTA is about to begin construction soon. Underground of utilities on Myrtle, and more and more and more. So as far as the Cleveland Street area activation for 400 and 500 block, we're working with Parks and Rec Department to basically have the same type of lighting that's on Coachment, the lighting that you put on your remote, on your cell phone. You can change the colors. Basically bring that to the 400 and 500 block. So we're working with them very closely for that's specifically just 400 and 500 block. Maybe in the future we can extend that even further down. As far as the property disposition initiatives that we have going for the entire CRA and the city, I've assigned Mr. Phil Patrick to basically undertake that task, along with other departments that are there at the table to make sure that we're doing things the right way, vetting each property. So right now we have the uneconomic remainder parcels. This Friday, we're sending out letters to the budding property owners to see if they are interested in purchasing those properties or interested in just basically acquiring those properties and kind of just merging them in with their property. Then we have residential surplus properties that this Friday is the deadline for internal departments to complete their vetting as far as there's any kind of issues with those single-family lots. If not, then we're going to go ahead and release a request for letters of interest for those 10 residential parcels. I think they're going to be advertised on May the 8th officially. Then from there, if they're located within the redevelopment boundaries, then there's going to be a 30-day window as far as what we have to wait. But we're excited on those surplus and disposition of those properties. In addition, there is one that Mr. Dylan Mayhew has already kind of put out there for a request for letters of interest for 806 Jurgen Street, I think, for an affordable housing project. Then the property in the North Greenwood area, 1105 Carlton Avenue, we're bringing that to you at the next trustees meeting. We took it to the North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area Citizens Advisory Committee last month. Basically had no real issues, so we're going to bring it before you. As far as Fire Station 45, here located in downtown, we're working with Public Works to go ahead and move forward with the demolition of that parcel. And that's going to be used temporarily for staging, parking for the downtown construction, but once that's done, then we'll go ahead and basically issue out a request for letters of interest for that parcel as well in the downtown. For this, again, for the 400, 500 block, the staff is researching this. This is a partnership with the DDB on potentially getting decorative European type umbrellas or parasols, whatever you may call them, for all of the businesses, and basically funded by the CRA or DDB, whatever makes sense, whatever legal thinks is appropriate for the appropriate entity to fund. But that's going to be exciting. Just that's some of the feedback we get from the merchants, that there isn't uniformity with some of their umbrellas, or their umbrellas that are out there are basically everywhere else, USA basically. If you go to Tampa, St. Pete, you see those same types of outdoor seating umbrellas. So we want to be a little bit more unique. And whatever umbrellas that we do come up with, we're going to vet them through the merchants and even through the body here to make sure that we're doing things the right way. Same thing, we're going to be working with the planning division to see if we can get bicycle racks for some of those property owners there. I know meeting with some of those merchants, they're requested bicycle racks. So I said, okay, we'll work with the appropriate departments to see if it's possible, and then we'll fund them, put them up. But at the same time, everything we're doing, everything is being integrated together to make sure that it's it makes sense together. It's not just piecemeal and tacky. Right now, we have a few pop-up partnerships that we're doing to activate, again, the Cleveland Street area. One is, this is for the general public as well, is Give a Pug a Hug event. This one is May the 3rd. It's a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Being done by Olive and Time at 530 Cleveland Street. This is a partnership that we kind of initiated with that entity and Olive and Time, so we're excited about that particular event. So things are starting to happen as far as the pop-ups, the events, and activation of Cleveland Street. Then we're also doing engagement very closely with the stakeholders. We do have 2 new officers that are heavily engaged with the merchants and just the community in general in downtown. I'm pretty impressed with them just because of their interaction with the stakeholders. They're out there walking, introducing themselves, and being more proactive instead of just kind of sitting back watching to see if they have to react to something. And that's more into the community policing innovations part of what CRAs can do. As far as the reimagined Clearwater Main Library, we have another scheduled tour for May the 9th at 9:30 a.m. right here at the library. So we do have a few entities that are going to participate in that. And we have a few departments to kind of help us out with that particular tour, just in case they have technical questions. For instance, Tara Kivett or one of our staff members to be here to answer questions. Sometimes they want to look inside certain mechanical areas to see how we're kind of put together. And we are starting to do more engagement with the merchants as far as the ones that aren't aware of who we are, letting them know what kind of grants we have in place for the downtown, because a lot of them find out after the fact. So I tell staff, I don't want people just to find out by word of mouth, because in my book, if I hear that they found out word of mouth, then we failed. We need to get that message out to them quickly and be proactive with our communications and marketing. And for the North Greenwood area, we do have another CAC, Citizens Advisory Committee, scheduled for June the 4th. So if anyone from the public is interested in attending that, they're welcome to attend. Then finally, which is very exciting for me, and we do have from the Clearwater Arts Alliance for the Sculptures 360 update, Ms. Betsy Walsh is here. There she is. I'm going to bring her up here to give a few words on the Sculpture 360. That was Amanda, also, she's our arts and culture individual. She was big in making that happen as well. Do you have any questions for me before I hand it over to her?
Vice Mayor, do you have something?
Yes, going back to Station 45, you were talking about demolishing it for staging. Will that be for the City Hall and PSCA, either or for
Whatever
another project?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but it's for all the construction that's going to be happening in the downtown, most likely City Public Works staff. They already have the plan in place. Unfortunately, I didn't bring the details with me.
Councilmember Menino?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the update and for sharing. There is a lot of hope and optimism of not just the development of our downtown district, but the activation of properties. So that's exciting. My question is more regarding us as staff. Are we analyzing or reevaluating our parking plans? And if, with all of this construction that will be going on, not necessarily the adequacy of it, but how we communicate that message, and if we need to reevaluate our signage plans?
So we are partnered up with Joelle's team, the communications team, and I know she's putting together a strategy, and Public Works is at the table as well to make sure that we do things the right way with parking. We're also looking in funding the CRA or the DDB a freebie type service. I'm not sure if you heard of that. That's just a company. That could be another company that comes in with a little shuttle to shuttle individuals around to where the parking is located at.
I appreciate that. I think it's important because our shows at the Sound seem to just keep getting busier and busier and more traction. The more attention we're putting at driving businesses and supporting our downtown, I think, the parking challenges only become an issue. And I don't think, again, it's the adequacy of our plan. It's making sure that we're effectively sharing that message and educating those driving around of, there are parking garages that are open and available.
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. All right.
realize now that you cannot see this because it's behind all of you on the dais, but.
No.
We have a screen.
Oh, you have a screen? Oh, okay, good. Perfect. I'm Betsy. I'm with the Clearwater Arts Alliance, and I first of all want to say thank you to the CRA for funding our project to reinvigorate the Sculpture 360 in downtown Clearwater on Cleveland Street. We took the opportunity to refresh the name for the series. We did not get, the funding that we have received was enough to do one rotation, but it would not do further rotations. So we are not sure if it will be Sculpture 360 in the same way that it was. So this new title for the project is the Clearwater Sculpture Series, funded by the CRA. That name also allows us to grow beyond the Cleveland Street area if we so choose in the future. We did a call to artists in December of 2024. And we did receive national interest. We had 2 artists who applied from outside of the state of Florida, which was great. And then we did a community-based selection process with representatives from the CRA, from our organization, the Arts Alliance, and downtown businesses. And we chose 3 finalists. And if you've been on Cleveland Street in the last couple of weeks, you've probably seen the new sculptures, so this is maybe not a surprise to you. In the 400 block, we have Nurture by Clayton Schwartz. He has a studio in Pinellas Park, Florida. His pieces are super vibrant. He airbrushes them and uses automotive finish, so they're actually really, really bright and they hold up forever. They're amazing. This piece is 3 herons, a mother heron and 2 baby herons. You can actually see in this picture, this is not how it actually is sitting right now. This is how it was initially placed on the sculpture plinth, and we made the decision to turn it around so that it will face the downtown diners at both Chiang Mai and Clear Sky. And then in the 500 block, we have Stainless Steed by Don Gialinella. He's in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he works predominantly with salvage materials. He does welded aluminum sculptures. That one is right outside of Nash Keys, so kind of a neat place for that. And then in the 600 block, Sea Dance by Robin Morgan. Robin is from Sarasota, Florida. They are a retired custom sign fabricator. This is the largest of the 3 sculptures that we installed, but because they are a custom sign fabricator, they know all about wind, so it's very stable piece. It also has on the top of it a little solar light that illuminates the eye of the piece in the evenings, so kind of a cool piece. These 3 sculptures will be in place until October of 2026. We are planning a community event in the next 6 weeks, tentatively for May 31st, to celebrate the pieces and put the word out and have arts and crafts and all kinds of fun things for the community to celebrate these new pieces. We also plan to do further engagement events during the grant period. Our art walks, which happen every month, always feature these 3 pieces, and so we intend to bulk up our art walks and maybe do some in the evenings as well. So, thank you very much for the funding, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Any questions from the trustees? No, thank you for coming today and showing us the progress.
Go see them in person too, they're awesome.
Very good.
Great,
Thank you.
looking forward to it.
Thank you. Okay, with that, is there any other business to come before the redevelopment agency? If not, I adjourn the April 28 meeting. This time we'll call to order the work session of the Clearwater City Council for April 28, 2025. And we'll move to item 2.1 on the agenda.
Annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2024.
Good afternoon, Monica Mitchell, Assistant Finance Director. Our auditor has apparently stepped out. Would it be possible to let Parks and Rec take their 2 items ahead of us?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll call item 3.1.
Approve a contract for the purchase of 1.2 acres of real property located at 2998 Lake Vista Drive.
Come on, Art.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members.
That's a good job.
How are you today? Good. The item before you today is the purchase of 1.2 acres of land that's adjacent to Kapok Park. Actually, there are 3 sides of Kapok Park actually touches this. It kind of fits right into the park itself, and it should be a great addition to the park. It should be noted that this property has been in the Brinson family since 1945, when the current owner's grandparents moved here and decided Clearwater was the place they wanted to put roots down, and so they have. And so we're grateful to the Brinsons for their willingness to really sell the city this property and to preserve the property for future generations to come. The lot is vacant, has several shade trees on it now and vegetation. There is no intention to do anything or develop the property itself. It'll just be some additional green space. The cost to maintain this, we're going to do it with our current crews that are maintaining the park there. And as you can see in your item, the cost is probably about $3,500 to do that. Funding for the purchase of this property is from park impact fee money, which must be spent to purchase additional park. With that, I'm going to answer any questions you might have.
Any discussion on this agenda item? Councilmember Cotton?
Yeah, I have a question. I know that you said, and I read it in there too, that there's no plans to develop it at this point. I was kind of looking at it. I did see where it was noted that you could access Alligator Creek for helping with stormwater. I'm just wondering, is there a way to tie in the trail? Because it is 1.2 acres. I mean, it's a good lot.
Yes.
And the reason I bring it up is because I would hate to see it not be able to potentially, do they have any intentions to sell it to anybody else or take it off city tax rolls and see somebody develop it with a newer, bigger home that looks over the park? I just want to see what the thought process is there with the family. Are they trying to sell it specifically to the city so that we preserve it? I just want to make sure that.
But again, I'm not sure that they were specifically wanting that. I think that was one of their desires
Okay.
that they had. And then we looked into it. We knew the property was vacant. I know that that we approached them in that. The reason why we also look at land like this is because it's adjacent to an existing park. We don't want to go out and buy it and add another Vest Pocket Park anywhere.
Absolutely.
We have enough of them. So we want to do that really to be good stewards, actually, and be able to maintain this along with that. So I'm not sure that they actually approached that. We'd have to ask Kaz. He's the one that did all of the work on this. And of course, I'm very grateful to them and Public Works for helping Parks and Recreation in that regard. So he could probably answer that question.
My question just comes from looking at the property when this came on the agenda. It looks like a fantastic piece of property, honestly, in the city of Clearwater. I mean, if I were looking to be fortunate enough to afford such a piece of property, it looks like it could be a great piece. So that's just what I wanted to bring kind of before us and ask if it was a specific thing that they reached out to us to do that. Because again, once it's ours, it comes off our tax rolls and there's zero development for anybody in that neighborhood or down that street to enjoy the property. So thank you, Mr. Cater, I appreciate it.
One note, it is zoned, I think, AE. Its flood zone is AE, which is a high-risk one, so there is some advantages to not having it developed in that sense, too.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, do we have consent?
Yes.
Yep.
We have consent on 3.2.
Authorize Parks and Recreation Department staff to request an amendment to the approved Florida Recreation Development Assistance Project Grant Agreement.
This item is to modify the scope of the Edgewater Drive Park Improvement Project by eliminating the proposed dock that was in the original plan and replacing that with widened sidewalks that run the entire part of the linear park up to the city limits of Dunedin. If you approve this scope change, an amendment to the FERDAP grant agreement will need to be made. The project has been in the works since 2023 and has received positive support throughout this process. However, within the last several months, and I'm sure you're aware of it, several of the residents of the Edgewater Drive community have shared their concerns regarding the inclusion of the dock within the project. On March 11th, staff met with the Edgewater Drive Homeowners Association, and at that meeting there was overriding majority of the residents desired that the dock not be included and that sidewalks would be more amenable to them. And again, I know this is just a certain segment of that population, but generally that's where we go when we try to find information about a neighborhood and the support of that. Due to the change in neighborhood support, For the construction of the dock, staff is now seeking approval to change this scope. I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yeah, are we enlarging any parking there for this?
Yes, the original plan, everything in the original plan is still intact.
Except the dock.
That was not, we were adding 9 additional, actually 8 parking places with one handicap, 9 additional parking spaces.
Okay.
That will be there, as well as all the other amenities, you know, trash cans, benches, water fountain, the various other things. The only thing that's being removed is the dock itself.
Thank you.
Councilmember Menino?
Appreciate staff's actions in engaging the community and listening. I know this feedback came on the back end of this process, came pretty late, and things were already moving and plans were in place, but greatly appreciate listening and the actions moving forward and making the changes. It is definitely needed. Live down the street, parking does get filled easily currently, and then they just back up and park on all the adjacent neighborhood streets, and we do hear quite a bit of complaints sometimes through those neighborhoods. So the added parking is a big help. My question, running through the map, I saw it on the itemized list, but on the updated map, I don't see where bike racks are located or the water fountain. Those are still going to be a part of it, correct?
That is correct. And again, we haven't, those are just preliminary designs. I mean, we're in the design phase right now.
Gotcha.
To approve. So those will be included.
They will be a
Yes.
part, they're just not part of it, yeah.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
I would like to say that we had engaged the homeowners. It wasn't that we were after the fact. Actually,
Right.
we started with the homeowners.
They were after the fact.
In '23, I went to the same group to get their support for the grant, or I would not have applied for the grant had we not have received that support. So I just wanted to say that we've been engaged all along.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Any further discussion? We have consent on this item.
Yep.
We have consent on 3.2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back to agenda item 2.1.
Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for fiscal year 2024.
Good afternoon, Monica Mitchell, Assistant Finance Director. This item is for the presentation of our annual audit for September 30th, 2024. This is our 5th and final year with our auditors because, as you know, the charter requires that we change auditors every 5 years. So I kind of wanted to reflect on the last 5 years. We began this audit contract during COVID, and we learned how to do an audit pretty much remotely, entirely. And it's stuck. It's a process that works. So that's something that kind of stuck with the remote work thing. We've implemented 2 of the most challenging GASB statements that I've seen in a long time. We developed the CRA separate financial audit, which you saw in the previous meeting. And this year, we incorporated the Downtown Development Board into the city's audit. So those are some of the things we've accomplished over the last 5 years. And the process is currently underway to select our next auditor. With that, I will introduce to you again John Brielmeyer from Parrigs and Ingram. Where'd it go?
Again, give me a second to figure out how to start it. There we go. Okay. Thanks. Again, John Bromar with Parrigs and Ingram. This is our last year as your auditors for the annual comprehensive financial report. Again, I'd like to thank your finance team. There's 1,200 to 1,500 hours on our side of the table that goes into getting this document done and audited and issued. Your team matches those hours. The requests that we have are in the several hundreds at this point. They coordinate those with all the different departments. They pull the support. They give us access to the financial records and answer all of our questions timely and adequately. So this set of documents, it's about a 200-page document. If you're not going to read the whole thing, I understand. The management discussion and analysis is the first 30, 35 pages. It gives you a nice summary of what happened during the year and a sort of a perspective look towards the future as well as what to expect. That is done by management. That is not a part of our audit. We don't audit those numbers. We do review them, but it's not an opinion that we give. But it is a nice little summary that they provide. So our part of it is issuing an unmodified report That's the highest level of assurance again. This year we did implement a new standard. That's why it has an emphasis of matter paragraph. That's not a negative thing. It's just a thing to call your attention to say, you know, that there's something new in these statements, and that's GASB 100 accounting for changes in accounting changes in correction of error. The next report is the government auditing standards report. We identified one material weakness and one significant deficiency that we'll cover in the next couple of slides. A management letter is also included with that. That's prescribed by the state of Florida. We didn't include anything different. There's a couple findings in this report, but nothing else that warranted being included in that. Again, the city follows the Florida statute for investment policies. We didn't have any findings related to that. The city receives state and federal funds that warrant a single audit. So those go through a process where we determine which one is considered a major program for the year. We then audit that in particular. That gets its own separate team. They dig into the grant compliance as well as the internal controls around it. The two programs that were selected this year was the CDBG grant. That one has two significant deficiencies for non-compliance over internal controls, and then the State Housing Initiative Partnership Grant. The SHIP program is about $3.5 million of expense that takes place in a year. The Community Development Block Grant is about $2.4 million. So here's some of the findings. Over the financial statements, we had one material weakness over the preparation of the schedule of federal awards. That's a document. It has a lot of information in it. Each award has to be presented by year, has to include the correct AIN number. It also has to include the correct expense amount. For two programs that we had listed on there, the expenditures were not included. Instead, they were presented the obligated amount, which is not the same thing as expenditures. That's the amount that they're able to spend. And for the other item, they included the amount drawn down versus the amount expensed during the year. Next is a significant deficiency. Part of the funding for the Imagine Clearwater project came through HUD. Last year, you recognized $1.4 million of revenue related to HUD. Part of that grant program included a requirement for an environmental survey. Based on the timing of when the grant was signed, the project had already started, so it's already past the point that they can do an environmental survey. Management has looked at it. They've had several communications with HUD. It was determined that those funds are no longer going to be received, so that revenue was then taken off the financial statements, and that position was restated for this year. For the single audit, we had the two significant deficiencies for the CDBG, or the Community Development Block Grant. The city did not report required information to the Federal Funding and Accountability and Transparency Act within a timely requirement. This is sort of a carryover from last year. They missed one reporting requirement. So that's been corrected. There's a process in place for that. The next one is prevailing wage. You're required to obtain certified payrolls from subcontractors. Those payrolls were obtained, just not on a consistent weekly basis. So because of that, and the dollar amount of that grant became a significant deficiency. Other communications, significant accounting policies are presented in note 1 of the financial statements. We did implement a new standard, which was GASB 100. That's why some of this items gets called back in the next couple of slides. Again, your financial statements are prepared using estimates. The retirement plans, the other post-employment plan, those actuaries are hired to determine what the liability is. We then audit the actuarial evaluation of those. The two standards that we did implement, leases and software subscription-based technology agreements, those are estimates, just the length of time that you would use those. Significant difficulties encountered during our audit, we're not aware of any. Again, you have a great management team, a great accounting department. They've been great to work with. Other findings or issues, none that we haven't already discussed. So these are the corrected misstatements. Your financial statements include these after the adjustment. This one here is over the Downtown Development Board. It moved from a custodial fund to a special revenue fund. Because of that and how it gets presented, it was towards the back of the financial statements in the custodial fund. It then gets moved up into the general or into the special revenue fund, so it does adjust fund balance. So there'd be a restatement there. That's just a change in accounting policy, so that's not an issue to note. This corrected misstatement is in relation to the Phillies baseball stadium. They renewed their contract for 5 years. Accounting assumed, or accounting read the contract, there's several iterations of it, and it was determined that the rate of the agreement was $200,000 for the next 5 years. On a subsequent review through another iteration of the contract, it was determined that the actual renewal is $1 for the next $1 a year for the next 5 years. Because of that, it has an impact on what we've recorded. There's some larger numbers in here, but that's because we would have had to produce sort of the present value of that asset and liability, and we're now taking it off the books. The current year impact was only $25,000. Okay, this one we've sort of covered. This is the $1.5 million that we would get from HUD that we were no longer receiving. Because of that, we sort of put it in this little table at the bottom that says what the impact is to fund balance. So your fund balance that was previously presented was $66 million. We're going to subtract $1.5 million from it, and the restated amount is $65 million. Uncorrected misstatement. So this is not reflected in the financial statements. These are something that we evaluated. It did not meet our threshold to be corrected in the financial statements. However, it did meet the threshold to be reported to management. In 2 locations, 2 utility plants, inventory is purchased outside of the general inventory procedure and accumulated in those locations. It wasn't until this year that it was determined that those amounts rose to a level of material amounts. We even went back and looked at historical purchases of inventories to determine what those amounts were. But this would be the overall change had we implemented it. It would bring out about $500,000 of inventory. They're in the process of moving inventory management systems to a new software. So this is still a very manual process at this point, but it will be merged once the new inventory management system is implemented. And then again, 2 internal control deficiencies. One's related to the Phillies, the correction and restatement related to that one, and then the water inventory that was past audit adjustment. That was a lot. Any questions for me?
Any questions from the council? But just on the 1.5 million HUD grant that I guess we had to give back, what time frame does that affect our?
I don't believe you received the funds at all.
Okay.
You were awarded the $1.5 million towards the project when you were going through the process to actually receive those funds.
So it's a grant that was never realized.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move to item 4.1 on the agenda.
Approve a proposal from construction manager at Res J. Kokolakis for Harbor Marina and North and South Basins temporary chaining.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. Staff is asking Council to approve a temporary repair of the Harbor Marina docking structure. The tension cables that hold the floating docks together have been damaged and compromised. This work order allows the docks to be chained together until the design is in place to repair the damaged wave attenuators, tension cables, and down gangway. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on this agenda? Or comments, discussion? If not, do we have consent?
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 4.1. Thank you. Agenda item 4.2.
Approve FDOT construction agreement for construction of sidewalk right-of-way improvements for the new City Hall project.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tara Kivett, City Engineer. This is a standard FDOT construction agreement requiring council approval due to the indemnification. It will allow the city, as part of the City Hall site improvement plans, to construct sidewalk on the FDOT right-of-way along Myrtle between Pierce and Park. In early June, Public Works will be back asking for your approval of a companion item conveying an easement to FDOT because the sidewalk is constructed both in right-of-way and on private property, and that's kind of a standard practice. In fact, we frequently get easements from private developments when it's our right-of-way, so same type of approach. Any questions?
Any discussion? Councilmember Albright.
So is that sidewalk going to be an 8-foot sidewalk now?
Yeah, it varies from 8 up to 30 feet, so quite wide.
Oh, okay.
You know, in combination to the entrance of the new
Right.
building.
Right, good.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Okay, do we have consent?
Yep.
We have consent on 4.2. Thank you. Agenda item 4.3.
Authorize purchase orders to BOS Tampa to provide furniture for the new city hall and MSB renovations.
Thank you, Tara Kivett again, City Engineer. Council previously approved the City Hall and MSB scopes and budgets back in October of '24 and more recently for MSB in February of '25. And the furniture costs was included in those budgets and GMPs. This item specifically allows the city to issue a PO directly to Boss, the furniture supplier, and Boss was selected based on their price, the high quality furniture line that they were offering, and just all the different options the furniture had. You know, we believe it can take us way into the future and we can build on it as needed. We are planning to issue a deductive change order to Ajax Builders as part of the City Hall project because there was a furniture allowance included in that GMP that you approved back in fall of '24. So that can be done administratively following your approval today. And then the PO for the City Hall furniture is approximately $756,000 when the allowance was $750,000, and that was based on an estimate, so we're very close. And then the MSB portion of the furniture is a little over $1 million, 1.44, so close to $1.5 million. And again, the budget that you guys approved in February had about a $2 million estimate for the overall furniture for MSB, so we are under that. We will be using some of that $2 million that you've already approved as part of Ajax to cover some other FF&E related items like carpet, a few screens for some of the new conference rooms, et cetera. And the timeline to install the furniture for each project, it's about an 8-week timeline that obviously will start once the project is substantially complete. MSB, because it is such a tight timeline, we're going to be moving staff in different phases, starting on the first and third floor. That way we'll get the staff out that are currently leasing space to reduce any sort of cost overruns. That will start in September, October, and then lastly, the second floor folks will move in out from 580. And then the City Hall planned move-in is August of 2026. Any questions?
Any questions or discussion? None? Do we have consent?
Yep.
We have consent on 4.3. Thank you. Agenda item 4.4.
Approve the Department of the Army consent to easement use of Corps of Engineers right-of-way for the beach marina replacement.
Good afternoon again, Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. Staff is asking council to approve a consent to easement with the Army Corps of Engineers. The government has a right-of-way over the project location for the beach marina reconstruction project, and the consent will allow the city to construct, use, maintain, control, operate, and repair structures on, across, over, and under the area of easement. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or discussion on this agenda? Okay, if there's none, do we have consent?
Yep.
We have consent on 4.4. Thank you. Agenda item 5.1.
Declare a list of vehicles and equipment surplus.
Mayor, Council, Dan Mayer, Interim Director, General Services. We have a list of 47 vehicles, mostly being removed due to age, although there were some accidents and we had a couple vehicles that had excessive repair costs. So if you have any questions on specific items,
Okay, questions or discussion on this agenda item? If none, do we have consent on 5.1?
Yep.
We have consent. Thank you. Agenda item 5.2.
Ratify and confirm an increase of $100,000 and additional $225,000 to purchase order with Wex Bank of Portland.
Mayor, Council, Dan Mayer again. We move forward with the replacement of our in-ground fueling tanks out at the solid waste complex. At the end of last year, in November, it was approved. Those tanks have been removed, and we had custom-built surface tanks put in. During the interim, when we weren't self-fueling, we used the Wex cards. So this item was written about a week ago when we anticipated some cost overruns. We're hopeful that the fueling station will be online at the end of today, but we planned for the worst case and thought we might have higher cost overruns. At this time, I think it'll be, if we have any, it'll be less than 10,000, I'm hopeful. But we do have a ratify and confirm on there to get us through any of those cost overruns, and then an increase to get us through the end of the fiscal year.
Makes sense. Any discussion or questions on agenda item 5.2? We have none. Do we have consent?
Yep.
We have consent on 5.2. Thank you.
very much.
Agenda item 6.1.
Schedule a special work session on Wednesday, August 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. and special council meetings on Wednesday, September 3, 2025 at 6 p.m. and Wednesday, September 17, 2025 at 6 p.m. Council members, this is in preparation of the new budget. The August 6th meeting will be the budget workshop, as we typically refer to it. And both of our council meetings conflict with the county's public hearing for their budget. So that is the reason why we're scheduling just the budget, so the only millage will be discussed on the Wednesday prior for both first and second.
Any discussion or questions from council? Okay.
May I place it on consent?
Yes, we have consent. Yes. Agenda item 6.2.
Reappoint Kevin Laughlin to the Marine Advisory Board with a term expiring March 31, 2029, and appoint an individual with a term expiring April 28, 2029. Council members, Mr. Philip Regari and Kevin Laughlin have both completed their terms. Mr. Regari completed his first term. Unfortunately, during his term, he has moved outside of city limits, and although the code does allow him to continue serving on the board as an ex officio, we do currently have a current member who is a professional merchant mariner, so does have the expertise. So that is the out that code allows. But I also have two applications for your consideration, and that is John Renton, who is a retired civil engineer, and Eric Van Cleve, who is a sales director.
So I guess first discuss reappointing Kevin Laughlin. Any discussion on that? We have consent on Kevin Laughlin?
Consent on that, yeah.
And then now this other position, any discussion on that? Or suggestions? Councilmember Menino?
Yeah, I think Mr. Renton, the civic engineer, I would support. The reason being, I know the gentleman currently sitting is interested, but moving outside of the city limits. If we had nobody else, I would be comfortable, being as though we have citizens that are qualified and interested to being there. And as the clerk just said, we do have a boating captain that's currently sitting, so we're not necessarily losing some expertise that we don't need. So that would be my suggestion.
I'm fine with Renton.
I'm aligned with that.
Yeah, he has significant executive experience, which could be helpful to us.
May I place it on consent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 7, city manager vote reports.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to, I'm sure some of you are going to talk about the events that took place over the weekend, and so just want to extend a thank you to the teams. It was another jam-packed weekend with a lot of events that were occurring, and our team really does a good job at making sure that those go off without a hitch, including the response to last night's tragic accident. So just really want to thank the teams for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, city attorney reports.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Agenda item 9, new business. New business?
Nope.
No? Okay. You want to go first?
Not so much new business, but just kind of maybe follow up on Citizens of the Month award. How are we doing that on timeline? Is it anytime soon that we're going to initiate that? Do we know?
I do know that staff was working with council in terms of how we were going to do that. I think the mayor wanted to do the first one, if that was.
Yeah, my idea was, it's a great idea, but was to rotate it through, so we'll likely choose other things. We just rotate through by seat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each month to pick whoever we choose for that particular month, and then we will roll back through, same rotation.
Every month still is what we want to do?
So if you're gonna start, when would that be?
Are we still wanting every month, or do we want to do every quarter? What is that? What we want to do is every month?
I want every month. I think there's enough citizens out there that need to be celebrated.
I don't mind having it every month, but I don't know. others feel.
Every month seems like a lot, but I'm supportive of it. If we are individually selecting, is there anything we're doing as far as sharing with other council members on who we are selecting and giving them any feedback, or absolutely I support that decision, or absolutely not? That Menino guy's a definite no? Are we putting any thought into that?
I thought it would just be simple, each of us determine who they want to recommend, and then inform the whole team and say, this is who I'm recommending for the following reasons, and I'm sure we're all going to choose great people, but I just wanted to see if we can start on that. And if you think every month is too much, that's okay, we can do it every 2 months or 3 months, but I did want to start it.
How about,
Go ahead.
You're on the clock, man.
how about we start every couple of months? And if we find that we have more than we really want to, that come up on every 2 months, we can drop it to every month.
Good compromise.
Looks like you're on the clock, Mayor.
Okay, so every other month, and then I told the Vice Mayor, I just want to keep it simple, to your point, to make sure we're not getting into this, proposing and having to vote on or decide collectively every month. I think it's to recognize folks who volunteer a lot of time in our community.
Correct.
That's the main purpose of this, and so.
Like I mentioned.
I understand your concern, that if we get way out there, but at the same time, one of us gets way out there, but at the same time, I think we want to try to keep it as simple as we can. And it's just a pilot program, I think, now, just see how it goes. So.
We can keep it as simple as just, we included in our 3-minute comments, that individual council member that month their 3-minute comment would just be, verbally recognizing that individual. We could keep it as simple as that.
In my mind's eye, I was thinking they were coming to the podium, we were explaining who this person is, why they're getting an award, giving a certificate, taking the picture, much like we do when we start our meetings. So, that's more clarity on what we're looking for here. I have no problem recognizing our citizens. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Essentially, what we're looking for, what is the rubric, if it's volunteerism, if it's just outstanding action, I don't know. So that's why I kind of want to make sure we're all on the same page. Because I think that we should keep it simple, but recognize those people that have done great things or are doing great things. It's a wonderful idea.
Excellent.
City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. So to the Vice Mayor's observation about it potentially being done either during council member comments, et cetera. So I would interpret that to mean that each council member individually will have both the right and the responsibility to select somebody. And that decision is not subject to the review, vote, or approval of the board. And that's okay. I just want to make sure that that is kind of the acclamation, or that is the idea that you guys are discussing. Because I can certainly envision circumstances where someone may make a nomination that might not be somebody who other council members would have initially nominated, and that's okay too. But I think it's important for the council as a group to understand and agree amongst yourselves whether this is an individual nomination by a council member who has the right to recognize that person and have that as part of our process, or is it something that does require more consensus?
That's what I think we want. It's not a council recognition, it's a council member recognition is the one. So they're not being recognized by the entire city council, we're choosing to recognize them.
That was my question, and if that's the consensus of the council, I think that's great. But I just wanted to make sure there were no miscommunications among council members as to what that what that process is going to look like. It could also cause confusion with the clerk's office as to what she's going to put in minutes and things like that.
So are we just identifying them in our 3 minutes, maybe creating that certificate of goodness and moving on that direction? You're good with that?
So every couple of months, it'll be 4 or 5 recognitions.
No. Every 2 months, one of us recognizes one person.
All right, okay, wow, okay.
Good with that?
You good?
I was jabbing on. I didn't hear.
I don't think this is anything official. This is just informal recognition.
Right.
We're just kind of agreeing up here, the five of us, we're not going to run our own five separate Citizen of the Month programs. We're gonna give each other the courtesy of giving each one a turn to basically do our own recognition.
I have one question, because I think the question was raised, when will this begin? Just to know.
Well, you start, so
Oh,
you're.
starts Thursday?
You're on the clock.
I can name a dozen people today that, have volunteered considerable time that I've met through. So two of them recognized, Saturday night, the thing we attended, that have done, did amazing hours to nonprofits here in Clearwater. So that won't be hard for me. Going first is actually easier because I don't have folks who already been recognized.
Thursday it
I
is.
can-
You want to start Thursday?
Thursday it is.
That was a joke.
That was it.
Well,
We
he's-
already
hey,
said
okay,
you make 12.
perfect.
Let's
He's
go.
ready to roll.
Let's
I-
go.
Yeah,
Okay, you're on Thursday. Perfect.
okay. And we'll do it in our closing comments. Okay. All right, suspense begins now. Okay, okay, any other new business? Vice Mayor, excuse me, I keep calling you Vice Mayor.
I know, this is gonna
You're
take a while.
Still sitting to my
If that happens.
side, so, Councilmember Albritton.
All right, so I've kind of brought this up before, but I thought maybe we could have a little discussion on it, or at least probably from the city manager, assistant city manager. I think we could do a better job with deliveries on Mandalay Avenue to restaurants than having it open all day long and having trucks take up lanes to deliver. And I was just thinking, why can't we set an ordinance that says deliveries must be before 10 a.m.? And I think it would be better I've had quite a bit of citizens call me and say, why do they just all day long are they, taking lanes up on the beach when, especially when there's a lot of traffic on the beach. And it's not just one or two trucks, they come all day long, and we have basically one north, and it's on the west side as well, because we have restaurants on both sides. But is that something we could mandate that deliveries happen at a certain time? I mean, for the delivery people, I think it would be an advantage if they got on Clearwater Beach early, because they get their stuff done and get out of there before the traffic gets in there really bad.
But the law is already that they cannot obstruct traffic, right?
Well, they do, they take up the
They
lane.
do.
I'd have to reread the ordinance, it's been a while, but I believe it reads to the effect that unless there's another opportunity, they can, and they can only do it for a short amount of time. There is a provision, I think, that allows them to park if there's no other way for them to do the loading and unloading. I think we've had this discussion over the several years.
Maybe, yeah.
And there has been, some pushback from the businesses because it would change costs and the delivery, and you think the private enterprise would come to the same conclusion you did, that it's a better use of staff time to kind of get in there and get out instead of getting tied up in traffic. But for some reason, they
Right.
must have enough multiple deliveries that they don't go that direction. But we can certainly discuss it. Mrs. Poyer kind of got us staff working with Whit Blanton and Forward Pinellas to kind of take a look at holistically many of the concerns that have come from the council about mostly the South Beach congestion issue. And we could certainly include this kind of in the scope and see what the opportunities are and what the impact would be, positive, negative.
Yeah, I think it owes at least talking about it, because I know I've been talking about it for probably over several years, and I still see it. I'm on the beach a lot, and I see it happen. It seems like lately more and more, and I think it's something we can maybe find a solution to, hopefully.
It might be challenging. I had a business where I was very reliant on deliveries. Unfortunately, you're not the only stop, right? So Clearwater Beach is not their only stop. And then my next, I think, question would be, having all those trucks, funneled into a 2 or 3 hour window, how is that going to impact it? And I'm not against it, I'm just thinking that there's a lot of things to consider here. And how will it impact the business community in terms of receiving the products that they need to run the business if you're only giving them short timeline, and those vendors that are delivering have other businesses to deliver, and how are they going to manage all that? Again, not against it, but it's not as easy as it may seem, I think.
Well, it's not going to be easy, but, I can tell you, as a contractor, I would have inspections on jobs on Clearwater Beach, and I can tell you, City of Clearwater, they get their inspections early because they know that if they send an inspector out later in the day, it's going to take them a lot longer to get out. So I think it'd be an advantage for the delivery people and everybody if they can get there before 11 o'clock, let's say. That's when the traffic seems to build on Clearwater Beach. But
Well, it's not just Mandalay, it's South Gulfview and Coronado. Coronado has been a significant problem because that's leads into the bottleneck there, and
oh yeah,
I've seen, I won't name the food service delivery company, but park their semi-tractor trailer right there on Coronado at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon during the spring. And then it's a problem for everyone. So, and on South Gulfview, some of those hotels, the JW Marriott just don't really have any loading dock at all. But they generally on South Gulfview time it pretty well if they do what you're talking about in the morning. But we need to have some restriction or some guidance to them, because if we don't, then what I've seen is certain ones, they do not time it very well. You're exactly right. It's probably costing their company more money to make that delivery at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon on a sunny day. But for whatever reason, they don't. But it really negatively impacts the traffic flow all north and south on all the streets when they don't make those deliveries in the morning. Councilmember Cotton?
I agree with your sentiment in trying to help with the traffic flow. I think that's something probably should be looked at, which I think that you've already kind of brought up and city staff is looking at, and that's, getting back to possibly one-ways. Anyways, before I get onto that second, because the second bifurcation that I have is I can see this as government getting a little bit maybe too much overreach again, because now we're setting an edict by the time that you have to have your deliveries sent, and that could cause certain delivery agencies to consider it a specific order or a custom order at that time, and maybe charge the businesses down there an extended amount of money to make their deliveries by a certain time. Now going back, Dan, if I may, did you say that is with Blanton, Forward Pinellas looking at the beach, is this in relation to what Councilmember Albritton has brought up in the past of looking to one-way traffic to try and ease traffic flow? Are we kind of putting it over there now, or what are we doing?
So yes, we've exchanged a scope. Both the manager and I worked on it, so I don't know if she wants to speak to it as opposed to me, but we're not necessarily saying one-way pair, is this going to make it better? We're saying we need to make this better, give us all the potential options and solutions. And then we'll have several ones that we can look at through modeling and through cost and what's achievable, feasible, accomplishable. And,
okay.
And so that's where we're kind of going with it.
Okay, very good. I haven't brought that up recently, so I didn't hear this change. And they seemed optimistic and hopeful to start working on that.
Yeah, they're fully engaged. We've had multiple meetings with Whit Blanton and his team. We've already received an initial scope of services that our team has gone through to look at to make sure it includes everything that we're interested in. And so we're going back and forth with that. And as soon as we have an approved scope of services, we'll make sure we send that out.
Okay, perfect. Because I think that we all understand that the traffic down there is just honestly atrocious, especially when we have events like Sugar Sand. Here I was stuck in the South Beach traffic after attending Sugar Sand and eating at a restaurant down there, so much so that I was like, well, I'm going Bel Air. And I literally made the U-turn and went a long way around just to come back to the beach to drop off family and then go back towards, countryside. So I appreciate you guys with that update and getting there. When it comes to that ordinance, though, I think that I would not be in favor of putting an ordinance forward just because of the parameters and stipulations it could put on those businesses and extra costs and burden.
Well, you can't block traffic, and you can't basically stick your finger in the eye of all the residents and all the other businesses out there. You can't block traffic for your own personal business purposes. And so, we're just asking folks to use some common sense and be respectful of others. It's a shame that we would have to get to that point. I would hope, there are many times I've thought about calling that food service company because I get the sign on the side of the truck, it's a major one, and say, hey, can you help us out here? Can you help all these people out that are being inconvenienced by your choosing to go out there at a certain time? So it's just common sense, and hopefully we don't have to get to an ordinance because we have conversations with those folks who deliver out there. As Councilmember Albritton said, help us help you. So they're not blistering the business, blistering the delivery service by making a really bad decision to block a lane on the busiest time, on one of the busiest places in the entire Tampa Bay region. That's all we're asking. And hopefully we don't have to get to the point where you have to pass something. We can just talk to folks to use some common sense.
Listen, I agree with you. Common sense, though, is not so common for some folks. And again, I don't think that the restaurants are necessarily the ones that we should put the burden on when it's not them in charge of the delivery service, right? That's going to come on, hey, I just need this food or these products delivered. They click the button to get it ordered, and it's on the service provider to get it there. So I believe that we've already kind of said that there is enforcement. Maybe it's just taking action on those enforcements and starting warnings or whatever of blocking those lanes instead of adding another rule. And again, I know that you've noted it's just maybe we're getting to that point. I just don't want to see me make a decision that puts another burden on a business. I just don't see that as beneficial. So even though we're dealing with the traffic situation, I think that maybe we see what we come up with Forward Pinellas and our staff. Maybe we find a different flow and something that benefits everybody, and then we can make dedicated delivery lanes or something like that. Clearly speaking from a blinder just on what could potentially be, but I'm not for, at this moment, looking to set another rule that could not benefit those tax-paying businesses that are on the beach.
Yeah. And I don't think that's what Councilmember Albritton is saying. You're saying it should be on the driver. It shouldn't be on that business. And that's who we're really trying to get to change the behavior, is the delivery.
Yeah, and maybe the best way to do this is maybe talk to the chamber first and say, hey, reach out to your hoteliers and let's discuss this, because I know they don't want to, I think that it may be something to be beneficial to them as well. Because I think what they do is, they don't call and say, hey, gee, we just ran out of beer, can you send another truck over, halfway during the day? I mean, they pretty much know what they need. And I think if they get an earlier start and get on into the beach and off the beach early, they'll miss the traffic. It'll be good for everybody, so.
I'll also end with this. I don't think those delivery drivers are looking to be in that traffic either at the end of the day. I don't think they're like looking forward to that last delivery to get into Clearwater Beach traffic. You know what I'm saying? And I do fully understand. I fully agree. It creates the backlog. It creates the jam. We already have a way to enforce it. Maybe we start getting a little bit more strict on that, making sure these drivers know. Then they go back to their bosses and they're like, hey, I got a warning, from Clearwater Police. We need to change our route around or something like that, not necessarily stick another ordinance to it. Or like you said, maybe we contact the chamber and allow it to work its way that, or we make our contacts to the hoteliers that we know down there and be like, hey, the burden, you're seeing it. Is there any way you could get your delivery set to a different time? Or we may look to put an ordinance, and then they can understand or recognize what burden that may put on them with customized deliveries or something like that. So I just think there might be other avenues before we slap a government rule.
I think we agree on that. It's just warning the drivers would be a first step. But I don't think we're doing that now, are we, Assistant City Manager?
Well, like I said, I haven't read the ordinance in a while, but I do believe it allows them to block one lane for up to 30 minutes. They can't block more than one lane if there's no loading zone available, and I think that's the scenario we have. So it doesn't mean that there's not a logical conversation that can happen with some of the business owners or delivery companies and amplify and maybe try to find a win-win for everybody. If you don't mind, let me refresh my reading of the ordinance, talk to Chief Gandy, and and maybe even the legal department and see what our options are and have the manager circle back with you if that's okay.
Good.
Okay. Anything further on this? Okay. Other new business? Okay, move to item 10, closing comments by mayor. What city manager referred to earlier was a great weekend of community activities. We had a great, the annual tree giveaway is fantastic. Our team works really hard and takes great joy and pride in giving away trees to our community, which is much appreciated by the citizens, and I know it has a great impact on our community as far as replacing a lot of trees that have been destroyed and removed, and making our city not only greener but healthier as well. And then there was the drug take-back project we had at Countryside Mall and Shred-a-thon, or Shred Collection, and it's always amazing the amount of prescription drugs that they collect at that National Drug Take-Back Day. And I could go on about all kinds of activities around the city that happened over the weekend. Moccasin Lake Park had a great Earth Day, which I know Council Vice Mayor was at as well. And Sugar Sand finished up, great event last night with a Latin orchestra and a great turnout for concerts on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. So lots of great things going on. And of course, it all ended with the tragic accident we had Sunday night. And so like we said at the beginning of the CRA meeting, collectively, council, the community, our hearts go out to all those families who were affected by that accident last night. Whether they had a family member injured or they were just part of being involved in the accident. And our hopes and prayers are with all those folks who are still recovering in different ways from the accident. And this community will support them, just as we always do, as we support each other when we go through tough times. So again, additional thoughts and prayers for those folks who were injured, or the families involved for those who were injured last night. With that, we will, if there's nothing else to come before the council, we adjourn the work session of April 28th.